إن الحمد لله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, the subject of today's khutbah is the moral or the teachings of the stories in Al-Quran, part 2. Today we are going to be talking about Musa alayhi salam and Khidir alayhi salam. As you all might know, that Musa alayhi salam was sent to a person to get some knowledge which he did not get at that moment by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So along with his young servant, Yusha, when he reached on a certain point, there they found one of our servants, Khidir. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying in Surah Kahf, whom we had blessed with a special favor from ourselves and whom we had given a special knowledge of our own. Musa alayhi salam requested of him, Khidir alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam requested him that may I follow you so that you may teach me from the true knowledge which you have been taught. Then Khidir answered, surely you will not be able to bear with me. قال إنك لن تستطيع معي صبرا. Khidir knew that Musa alayhi salam is not going to be able to bear with him with patience, because Musa alayhi salam didn't have that kind of knowledge which was given to Khidir. So how can you practice, how can you have patience about that which is beyond your knowledge? Khidir alayhi salam is explaining to him that if you will not be patient, you will not be able to keep patience. And how can you be patient about which you didn't have given the knowledge? So Musa alayhi salam said, Inshallah, you shall find me patient and I shall not disobey you in any way. So he promised Khidir to be patient and not to be disobeyed to whatever he is going to say. Dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Musa alayhi salam is one of the mightiest prophets, but he is obedient, he is polite, he is acting like learner-like nature of his character to learn the knowledge Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has told him to know. He said, if you want to follow me, then Khidir alayhi salam goes on, do not question me until I tell you on my own. From myself, you shouldn't question about anything, any of my activities. فَانْطَلَقَ. Then they set forth. But while they embarked in a boat to cross the river, Khidir made a hole in it. Musa said, did you make a hole in it to drown its passengers? You have done a very weird thing. Khidir said, didn't I say that you would not manage to have patience with me? Musa said, please forgive me, forgive my forgetfulness, and do not be hard in dealing with me on account of this mistake. So they journeyed on until they met a boy, and Khidir alayhi salam killed him. Musa alayhi salam said, you have killed an innocent person, though he had not killed anybody. Surely you have done a horrible thing. In both two incidents, Musa alayhi salam complained about the activities of Khidir. Khidir said, did I not tell you that you will not be able to bear with me? Musa alayhi salam replied, if I ever ask you about anything after this incident, you may not keep me in your company, for then you will have the excuse of not keeping me with you. They traveled on until they came to the people of a town, and they asked them for some food, but they refused to receive them as their guests. They were Khidir and Musa alayhi salam found a wall on the point of falling down, almost broken down on the ground, the wall. So Khidir restored it, rebuilt the wall. Musa alayhi salam said, if you wanted, you could have taken some wages for it. Khidir replied, that's it. This is the parting between you and me. But first I'll explain to you those acts of mine, the activities of mine, which you could not bear to watch with patience. You couldn't hold your patience to watch me doing these things, but I'll explain to you. First, about the boat. Actually, the boat belonged to some poor fishermen. They used to toil into the sea and used to catch some fish to survive their life. I intended to damage it because there is a king after them who was seizing every boat by force. Might be that at the time of the war he needed it, whatever reason it is. But that was unfair to seize the boats of poor fishermen. On that boat, their living was dependent on. So that the king couldn't get those boats, he made the hole on that boat, the boat they were using to cross the river. As for the young boy, his parents, let us listen to this very carefully. His parents are true believers, and we fear that lest he oppress them, lest the boy oppress his parents, who were very true believers, pious people, pious persons. And they thought that the boy might oppress them and be a rebellious and disbeliever. It is our wish that our Rabb should grant them another boy in his place, a son more righteous and better in affection. As for the wall, it belonged to two orphan boys in the city, and beneath it, under it, their treasure was buried. His father buried the treasure for his two sons before he was dead. Since their father was a righteous man, وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's words in Surah Kahf, verse number 82. وَكَانَ أَبُوهُمَا صَالِحًا. Their father was a righteous man, pious man, good person. Your Rabb, this time Khidir is using about the Lord of Musa alayhi salam. He's saying, your Rabb desired that these children should attain their maturity and take out their treasure. All this was done as a mercy from your Rabb. That is the interpretation of those actions which you could not bear to watch with patience. These three incidents has several meanings, but as the time is not permitting, as the time is very limited, I will not be able to explain in details and whatever necessary because of the time. I will make it really, really short. The teaching of it, Musa alayhi salam had to find a servant of Allah who would instruct him. Again, Musa alayhi salam was asked by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, was ordered by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to go to a servant of Allah to have certain kind of knowledge which he did not receive it yet. The fish is the emblem, the example of the fruit of secular knowledge, the worldly knowledge. The fish became alive and made its way to the ocean. The example is the fish which merges into itself is divine knowledge. The secular knowledge which mixes into the divine knowledge. At the point where human intelligence is ready for the junction of the two. With the secular worldly knowledge that is merging into the divine knowledge, human being is ready to have the knowledge of worldly knowledge and knowledge of divinity. But the mere merger, the merely mixing does not in itself produce divine knowledge actually. The divine knowledge has to be sought patiently. By thinking on ourselves, on your own, on my own, and by inventing some divinity, mixing the worldly knowledge, that is not actually helpful. The teaching is, the bottom line is, to merge the worldly knowledge into divinity, the divine knowledge has to be sought patiently with the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that ability to seek the divine knowledge as Musa alayhi salam has sought and found. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروا واتوبوا إليه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على عباده الذين اصطفى. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله ملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. ربنا فاغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وتوفنا مع الأبرار. ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب. ربنا أفرغ علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. وقال سبحانه وتعالى فاذكروني أذكركم واشكروا لي ولا تكفرون. إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين. أقيم الصلاة.